You're all very welcome back. My name is Dor. I'm the other host of First Wednesday series. In a minute, we will be passing around a clipboard. That clipboard contains a folded poster of tonight's event, and it is a memento for Jessica. So we will be passing it around, and if you want to write something nice about the reading that you've experienced at the first half of this evening, we would be very grateful, and Jessica will get to take it home and take it out every time she wants a good reminder of tonight. So that's going around, and if you could participate in this tradition, we'd be very grateful. So that's announcement number 1. Announcement number 2, I have a terrible memory. Announcement number 2 is, if for whatever reason you do not want to be part of the recording of tonight, just let us know. If you haven't let us know already, let us know as you're coming up to record, because it's harder to edit it out later than it is to just turn the camera off before you come up. So that's announcement number 2. And yeah, and yes, and thank you again to Poetry Ireland for helping sponsor tonight. And announcement number 4 will wait till later. So, on to the open mic. As is our tradition, we're going to ask someone who's very special to tonight's reading, to Jessica's book, to a lot of our books, and who has his debut book, right? It's your debut. His debut book on the table for sale. And there we go. So, publisher extraordinaire and wonderful poet, Dominic Taylor. Give him a warm round.
Thanks a million, Dor. Just before I read my poem, I just want to mention something as well. Mike Finn, who was the founding director of the Limerick Writers' Centre, his new play has got 3 more days to run up in the lime tree. It's a fantastic play, brilliantly acted, brilliantly written. And one of the themes is about the small shops being sort of taken over and pushed out by big developers. And that's a theme in the poem I'm going to read here from my book. It's called The Last Corner Shop in Janesborough. Alone it stood, castle-like, nestled between Pierce and Colbert. And Tilly, like a sparrow edged between the tins and jars of sweets, served the customers as children scuffled by the counter, nourishing themselves on snacks and treats to the jingle-jangle of the euro. But this was more than just a shop, a place to congregate and trade. In its day, it satisfied the need to share hopes and fears, triumphs and disasters, comings and goings. Names still proudly proclaimed in stone above the door, now full with the emptiness of years. And once with allies in every avenue, Ronans, Kirbys, Lanes, Murphys, Logans, Keens, one by one fell by the way as the raging storm of progress laid waste to the last corner shop in Janesborough. Thank you.
Dominic?
Yeah, it needs to be made into a documentary.
That's our next one.
Yeah.
Also, again, this is almost an institution at this point. At least since we've been running for a year, Dominic always goes first, and the next poet always, what's happening to me today, goes second. Now, the poet I'm talking about recently launched a book. That is being held aloft over there. It's, I want to say, a Limerick bestseller at this point.
Yes.
It has sold out at O'Mahony several times. So, Cora, will you give us a...
I will indeed. Thanks, Dor. poem now. I just want to give a short bit of a background. There's a story in this that I called The School of Hard Knocks, mainly to the head. And that's to do with some of the savage presentation nuns, because there was one of them there that just catch me by the hair, because I wouldn't, and yanked me off by the hair and bashed my head off the hardwood floor. She did this for almost a year now, and I developed epilepsy because of it. So I was about 12 at the time. So fast forward then to when I was about 17, I was in hospital again. There were casualties, as they say. But my uncle brought me in this book then of Van Gogh and all these beautiful paintings and his life story. I was reading through it and I said, oh my God, Van Gogh had epilepsy. Up to that I was mortified, like you're a teenager now. And I thought, my God, with these kindred tortured souls or something, they kind of changed everything. I'm grand now, thanks, by the way. I'm not going to the wonders of modern medicine, I'm grand. Just in case of it. So I'm sorry, I'll read this poem now. It's called On Vincent Epilepsy. Thank you, Dr. Gachet, for your kindness to Vincent. He speaks very highly of you, and I hear that you've been treating him with foxglove. The paint has dried on all the years of wheat, and that is why I'm here. You see, Dr. Gachet, tomorrow is the day when Vincent in despair splattered death across his chest, and you think I jest. Oh no, Dr. Gachet, I've travelled through time to be with him. I've seen how harsh rejection scribbled colour from his face and left him ochre and unearthed it, and how he paints in yellows to compensate. And I have seen him rise like Lazarus, bloodied and bewildered from the epileptic seizures that had floored him, hence my quest. I too, smoking cigarettes and drinking coffee, have sat here in the half-light of the night cafe and pondered. Would it dim his genius if I tried to change the mapping of his mind? Would the almond blossoms bloom? Would all the shirts get laundered? Because we share a bond that only soldiers know, I take the road that's lined with slender cypress trees and lavender and land, a dusty pilgrim at the gates of St. Paul's. The beauty of the lilac-covered ivy trees and irises belies the horrors of the snake pit locked within these dark foreboding walls. This asylum is a maze of brooding greys. Each sombre cell in every cloistered corridor echoes with the sadness of old men. Touch the memory, touch the darkness of the energy inherent in the stones of Saint Remy. I stroll the hall through Vincent's room, with windows to the inky eastern sky and starry nights. Ancient ghosts, silent as old bones, listening to stillness, and the walls breathe. Very far away, somebody is screaming. I think it might be me. Now, a fun fact, I shouldn't say this, I know, but a fun fact about that savage nun, right? The day I'd finished writing that story about her, I was upset, dragged up a lot of old stuff from me, and I thought, yeah, finish that. And a friend's mother had died, so I was looking up, RIP.ie for the funeral times. And here, looking back from the obituaries, is your woman, the nun. I couldn't believe this, and it kind of reminded me of this quote. I don't know if you know the great criminal lawyer Clarence Darrow, but he had this quote and said, "I've never wished a man dead, but I've read some obituaries with great pleasure."
Thank you, Cora. There are several copies of the book over there. Let's make them run out tonight. Next, I would like to ask John Power to come up and read it.
I think I need an assistant again. 1 second. Okay, bear with me a second. Hi everyone, nice to meet you. So I just wrote these, I think, during the COVID. There was a marching band circling the bandstand, playing in jingoistic movements. The shadows were longer, the light deeper orange. It was the end of summer. Pretty soon the town will be deserted, all the summer people gone. I stayed on through September. Things will be quiet, I'll have the place to myself. The morning will be for walking and reading. There are trails and sandy beaches, the ocean, the sky, the cliffs. I will borrow a book from the library and read many chapters. I'll write a mystery novel about someone or something. The afternoons are for adventure. I have a kayak. I will explore around the reefs and rocks, go to secret caves and look at ghost-like faces. I will visit the reservoir, and sometimes I'll see birds skate across the water and the sound of a lone pigeon in the sky. Usually there's a riot of colour in this evening sunset. I'll gaze and think wonderful things like that Louis Armstrong song. Sometimes I'll go under with the mask and snorkel and see white porcupines and big red crabs float along a reef and see fish floating. I might hire a bike and go off the beaten track, down roads with wheel ruts where huge deep green fields await. I'll take photos. At night I'll get a beer and sit on the seawall, smoke a cigarette, hear the spring tides. The stars will be full of constellations. The plough, a man with a straw hat. Sometimes I'll dream. Thank you. 2 seconds now. This is just slightly longer. It's kind of, some of it's from memory, and my grandmother lived in the street and she had a window, and you were never bored. And so I'll begin now. The front has 2 square patches of grass with a pathway. Climbing roses grew around the window, and sometimes the girls on the way to the dance called out, "Mrs. Ward, can I have a rose for my dress?" The newspaper vendor, penny apples, a bakery, a pawn shop, and even a gypsy singing "You Can't Hurry Love." The floor had marks like stains from the dancing, and the air was filled with ions and something else. Feeling in the cracks in the wall, the creaking door, the light switches, and the old deck of cards. They used to pass a tray of drinks from the pub next door through the window, a lone radio, a squeal, a shout, and then someone danced. Just like that, they made their own fun and they laughed. The garden was wild and overgrown, and in between were large trees separating the houses. There was a big wall. We climbed that sometimes. It was a mattress factory, and there were incisions for windows where it was a corn store. They looked back at you like dormant faces. The back had a slope and a high wall. That's where the horses were, through the lane. It was also a shortcut to the market, the cinemas, and the city. Further in was the bay window and a view to the sitting room. In this room there were smells of brasso, burnt candles, and a flavour like an old barrel in a dungeon with some exotic wine, perhaps 1,000 years old. Deep gleaming silver was displayed in the glass cabinet, a chaise longue with 2 hunting pictures, a big round table. There was a bay window, the fire lit up and danced around the wall, and on Saturday nights we'd get a takeaway. In the kitchen I'd get the cutlery from the drawer and pause to watch the street. Outside they were emptying out of the pub. There would be fights, singing, dancing, cajoling, and loud cheers when someone cracked a joke. Name calling, someone pushing someone down the hill in a trolley with raucous laughter. There were motorbikes and motor cars and characters, doors closing and opening, and shouts and screams. You went back inside to the other room where a lone TV, a blazing fire, and my grandmother and a beef curry and chips, and watched John Wayne kill a load of Indians. Sometimes I slept in my grandmother's bed and she would mumble the rosary. What the hell was she saying? My mother said she never prayed in her life. She could laugh though, my grandmother. I don't think I could ever hear or see someone laugh like that. She'd haggle with people in the market and say, "Jimmy, throw in a few more apples for luck." And my grandfather, he was known as the good-looking postman. He carried the letters with the paychecks from England, and they waited at the doors, hoping. Sometimes they had nothing and he helped out. My abiding memory would be the hall, the way the light cascaded through when you opened the door, and going into that room felt like you were connected to a spirit. People came and went all the time. It would erupt, someone knew something or saw someone in town, and you heard the news. Sometimes I snuck into the pub next door and got a glass of orange and salt and vinegar potatoes and sat by the window watching Star Trek or the Monkeys. We would be leaving shortly for the seaside or Pallaskenry, baling hay in the country or playing knock-a-dolly, or to the seaside casinos, games of defender, long swims, catching some breaker and splashing to the front, or a movie like Jaws. The knock-a-dolly didn't end too well though. The woman was watching us tie the thread onto the door handle. But Jaws ended up being a great pick-up line. The nightclub was called the Dutch, and you could say to a girl, "I'm a movie director making Jaws 2 off George's head." Thank you.
Thank you, John. Brilliant. The next poet I'd like to ask over to the mic is Nadia. Is Nadia here? We can continue with the applause
Hello. This is the first time I'm reading something in front of people, well, in front of a microphone. And I have a very short poem about a very specific feeling that I thought is very hard to describe, so I wrote a poem about it. The title is "The Wind is Holding Me." Do you know the emotion, my devotion? Can you feel nothing? Is this my feeling? Should I internalize it? Wind blowing through an empty cave, feeling like an element, not a human embodiment. Do you understand the emptiness? We're both a human being. I feel nothing. Feel the emptiness. Wind blowing through an empty cave, wind sounds of a wave. Communicate with nature. Are my feelings truly unique? Or do you just not feel the wind? Peel my skin off and show the emptiest soul. I want to be in control. Who am I that you don't know? Oh, do I wish you to feel? Do I wish you to know? Who am I that you don't know? Oh, do I wish you to feel? Do I wish you to know? Who am I that you don't know? Oh, what do I know? That's
Thank you so much, Nadia. You know, 6 years ago I stood not too far from here for the first time and read poetry in front of an audience for the first time. And I remember my knees were shaking, my hands were shaking, my teeth were probably chattering. It was terrifying. So I think Nadia deserves another round of applause. And we hope you make it back. Thank you so much. Next is a poet who it is definitely not his first time here, and we enjoy it every time you come up to the mic. Here, I'm over to you.
I want to lower the tone of the evening. The theme of this poem could be said to be, we're all doomed. We are all doomed. Here we go. It's called The Free Fall. Even if you look down, you can, for a long time, convince yourself that you are flying, not falling. You can grin at the tumbling cameraman, give him a thumbs up. You can link up with other jump artists who are just falling by. You can dwell on the cardinal features of the Irish dispersed settlement. You can somersault in the air and admire the azure firmament. You can taste the ozone on your lips and scream joy or pain into the ether. You can think that there is absolutely nothing in the whole wide world better, but you are still falling, falling. If you are chosen, your parachute opens, and the fragrant ground will open as a bed. You land with your boots on, your wits intact, avoiding thrumming motorways, rusted barbed wire fencing, new nettles, unserviced septic tanks. If you are not chosen, well, you might spend the duration of your fall defying the fall until you realize that all you really had was the fall itself, and that is now spent, as only Lucifer comprehends. Author's note: it is considered discourteous to your fellow free fallers to point out the obvious gravity of the situation.
About a year ago, one of our first meetings, over there in the corner, there was this poet as well as my husband, and they both were wearing hoodies, and they both had hats, and the only difference between them was that one had brought this magnificent piece of cardboard or vellum or something and read his poem from it, and the other one was my husband. Today they are still in two corners of the room, but two different corners of the room. Anthony, will you come up and read a poem?
Thanks, Dor. I'm not sure whether I tried this one here before, but anyway, it's or a version of it maybe. I don't know whether I did or not, but it refers to a pain in a certain part of the anatomy, and I experienced this pain. It's a number of months ago now. I was in a coastal town of County Dublin, so it's called Malahide. Can't believe it. There he is again, that conniving traffic warden, zigzagging with contained confidence through every conceivable paid parking space in Malahide. Can't believe it. There he is again, hovering, his chest barreled forward. Is there no mercy as I try to sneak some smidgen of free parking? He's just on it, on my case, on my nerves, on my hide, in Malahide. What is it? Am I translucent that he can pinpoint me so easily and hunt me down so many bleeding times? 5 times to be exact. Relieved in my very bones to be driving home.
The next poet, yeah, we just love him, Martin Murphy. Will you come up?
I've got one tonight. If some new poems can be called wet, this one's actually still dripping. There's no timeline yet. It's 6:30 p.m. on a weekday evening, and I am once again standing over a full sink. The dreaded wash-up beckons. But hold your horses. I've discovered streaming. Whoever invented that gets my vote. Last night it was a podcast. Louis Theroux speaking to Danny Dyer about his fucking working class roots. As I start with the cutlery, tonight I'm transported to a studio in the early 80s. Duran Duran belt out their debut single, Planet Earth. All of a sudden, I'm 15 again, dancing with the new romantics, throwing shapes. And as Simon tails off, and I move on to the dirty dishes, I hear the opening beats of Blondie, Heart of Glass. As the song plays through, I can hear it fine, but all I can see is the mesmeric beauty of Debbie. I'm 13 now, and tingling in places I never knew I could tingle before. If you remember the song and its visuals, you know what I mean. I'm now at the pots and pans, needing a good scrub. What better than Led Zepp leading me up some steps? I have 8 minutes now, surrounded by the tone of Robert Plant, John Bonham's drums, and the Jimmy Page delivery of that guitar solo. I found my stairway to heaven. As I finish up this, as I say, this is wet, I can't read, this mundane task, Tears for Fears remind me of their mad world. I'm almost annoyed that the job is done now. The only consolation I have is that I know there will be more dirty dishes to be washed tomorrow.
Thank you for that tingling, dripping poem. The next poet who I'm going to ask to read is a Limerick legend, and following him is another rising legend in Limerick with the same last name. So first Tom and then Kaya.
Really enjoyed the guest poet Jessica. Relaxing and very good poetry. Well done.
Thank you.
Dominic hit the nail on the head with the local shop. Because I'm up every morning at 6 o'clock to let the milkman in and the breadman. I'm still doing it. My mother done it for 50 years before me. She died last January at 100 years old. So there's one good thing about a shop, keeps you going and keeps you alive. You know. But the local lads with a local shop are fantastic. Especially all the hard lads. You know, the boys that you're afraid of. You know, when you tell them the shop is closing down. Oh, we get our sulkies and our horses in front of that door. There's nobody closing down the shop. It's here too long. You know, so that's what you have out there. Now, people that write books, poetry books, I suppose we write them to keep ourselves alive even though we're dead. We want to believe that we're here forever. And this is a little poem that I actually found. I wrote it in 97. And it's called My Life's Breath. Read my poetry when I die. Wipe those tears, please don't cry. Read the line, take the verse, you'll walk behind an empty hearse. Within your palm you hold my soul, I'll verify that vacant hole. And when you find the time to read, take my book, please help me breathe. Read me gentle, take me calm, you hold my soul within your palm. And even though my body is gone, within this book, my soul lives on. And if I last to this, I don't know will I? I'll try it anyway. This is a little poem that the wars that's going on at the moment. Just brought this poem to me. It's called The Battlefield. My plastic soldiers ruffled my blankets, preparing the battlefield for my thoughts against my antics. With my plastic soldiers and my plastic gun, my bullets are real, I kill for fun. War cries are frequent, echoes will yield, conscripted from home to the battlefield. My pillars make mountains, white as in snow. My blankets create trenches where my soldiers can go. My mattresses scuttled, sheets floating in red, all of my soldiers are dead on my bed. My mother appeared and straightened my blankets, ending the war between my thoughts against my antics. Thank you very much.
I think for the next poet, I think it's your second time reading here. She's fantastic. Kaya, will you give
Hello, I'm back. Can't hear me yet. This is a poem I think everyone here will relate to on some level. It's kind of about like a love-hate relationship. So it's called a love letter. I love you like a feckin' fool. Head first, no helmet, straight into the muck. You've robbed me blind more times than I can count. Left me counting pennies for pints. And still I'd swear by your name with my last breath. Your streets stink of piss and poetry. Boys with iron fists, girls with eyes that could cut glass, all of us half mad from the rain. But we are dia earn, we mutter, though we know well enough he's off somewhere else, having a laugh. Your churches are rotten on every corner, bells that toll for no one listening. Still we cross ourselves, old habit, old fear. Like patting your pockets for your wallet in a crowd full of chancers. I've watched your sons carry coffins younger than themselves. Your daughters wipe their tears on the flight to Perth. Their voices cracking on slan, ma'am. And still, ma tear, ma creach I hiss, because loving you is a wound I press just to feel alive. So here's the truth. You're a mean, glorious bastard of a country. And I'd rather be broken on your cracked pavements than rich anywhere else. That's love for you. A blade to the gut, and me thanking for your honour.
rising legend? I think we deserve another round. The next reader, the next poet, during my first time at an open mic in Limerick, I think you brought a bouzouki and you were singing songs and reciting stuff. Mick Lacey.
The first poem I ever read anywhere was in the White House. I walked in by accident about 14 years ago. Anyway, it's about shops, and it was I bought an Aldi ladder, and I bought an Aldi drill, and I built an Aldi house on a little hill. This is called Changing Time of Biscuits and Pornography. Even the colour of Kimberley biscuits have paled. They're soft and mushy, not fair, spongy and symmetrical as they used to be. Fig rolls have lost their individuality. Queen crackers crumble like crisps. A man in Kildimo lost his legs opening a tin of beans. Thousands go to mass in IKEA every Sunday. 150 million Americans take Prozac. 20 million dogs are prescribed it. It doesn't work on cats. Of course they don't chase after buses. I can't seem to open the wrappers on a bar of chocolate without reading the instructions first. Don't talk about milk cartons or cheese with zips. A man in Mungret was castrated trying to open the zip on a block of shoes. The girl in the mobile phone shop shouts, I tell her I'm not deaf, only grey, and want to buy an iPhone. The bank manager says no, no, no to a 10-year loan. And the cardiologist wants to be paid in advance. Everlasting light bulbs cut short, fluorescent, built-in obsolescence, maintained means of production, illuminated power savers. It's all in the wattage the commercials promise. Erectile dysfunction, the law of diminishing returns. Viagra full strength doesn't work on cats. Thank God for that. Makes the TV look bigger and the sea lure though. The tiny female prostate gland, a Canadian lady told me at the Lisdoonvarna Matchmaking Festival last year, squirts, marking her territory to fend off other women who smell it. Men can't, she said. Works for cats though, sure we all knew that. A man in the US wanted to marry his horse. The Supreme Court refused, saying that the animal was underage. In another jurisdiction, a man wanted to marry his camel. Another jurisdiction, a man wanted to marry his camel and have full canon knowledge. Sorry. But certainly not with a cat. Thank God for that. Come to think of it, a lady in the UK had sex with a cat. A tiger, in fact, but it was a man dressed up. So they had to move to Kathmandu. Miles Jackson said, pornography, the canary in the coal mine of free speech. Thank you.
Jessica, as discussed, beware of the open mic. What I took away from that, though, was to beware of cheese and beans. Serious bodily injury can happen. Next is a poet who is sitting behind the iron curtain door on the other side. Susie, would you like to read for us?
This is a poem from my book, which is coming out later this year. It's called Before We Return. Give me moments in migration, butterfly brief and as beautiful. We are as rare and precarious as dewdrops, turning sunlight to flame. The earth will taste the tongues of our fires before we return to ashes. This is another longer poem I wrote more recently. It's called The Animal Wants. The mugs in your kitchen presses have not been properly cleaned. You rummage for one that will do, fill it with coffee, and settle into a chair. You, the cynosure of this quiet room, the fucking apple of my eye, blink like a sleepy cat and stare out the window. It is unbearable. I push my body between you and the cup, between hands that never learn to hold. You try though, and for a moment we are whole, but trying tires you. You go back to the cup, the cigarettes in your pocket. The kitchen fills with your hot, easy breaths. I set myself on the presses, pulling out the entrails of the house. I ask you if chicken and mash sounds good for dinner. Your answer is neither a yes nor a no. You will not give food another thought until it's dark outside and you feel a sudden need for a hot dinner, at which point you will drive to Tesco and pick up a ready meal. Anticipating all this, I defrost some chicken. Ever since I moved in, something new has become living in me, like a keen, sniffing animal. It's been compelling me to do all kinds of strange things like air out the cushions and clean the grout really well. Yesterday the animal drove me to Woody's to buy yellow artificial flowers to put in a blue vase I found. This is all very, very important. By the way, we should really be washing the dishes. Do you mind? I mean, we should at least stick the dirty dishes by the sink and wash them before going to bed. The animal finds it imperative that there is some kind of system in place. At least we should wash them before the cat licks up the stinking meat and gets sick, for fuck's sake. Everything I've ever hated about living with my mother is in me, I discover. My turn to make life unbearable.
your turn to tell me to pile the dishes doesn't matter, and officially it won't until you decide it does, and then it really does, but until then, will I ever just calm down? I've never felt older or more like a woman. I wash the dishes. Thank you.
Thanks, Susie. The next poet, I think it's his second or third time here, and it's wonderful and surprising every time. Matthew, would you like to come up?
Good evening, everyone. I have quite a few to figure out, so I'm gonna read one, but I need one number from 1 to 3. Which one you wanna hear as the other one?
4.
Funny guy. So 1 to 3, which one?
2.
Okay. So, so this is from a book that I read by a guy that was ex-SEAL Team 6, and the poem is called Unafraid by Eddie Penny. When I was young, I'd like to run. Joining the Navy is gonna be a lot of fun. Running circles in the sand. I thought I'll never see the land. Then came the selection. I wonder which section. Death Crew is what they say. Death Crew is what they said. Decision was already made. Breacher was my job. At the start, I felt like a knob. After a few tours, I was done. But my one wife was having none. Court was a bottom. But I was not to be rattled. I won the kids over. Suddenly, there was no more hangover. New life was here. The strong survive and are here. So that was the one. This one is about one of the longest standing records in National Hockey League, recently broken by Alex Ovechkin. I don't know if anybody knows Wayne Gretzky, but he held the record for about 30 years. So this is called 895. It took a long time. What was yours is now mine. Ovi said to Gretzky. Islanders are at home. Ovi lets the wrister go. Sorokin tracks the puck. All he can think is, oh fuck. There is the goal, number 895. You can't help but smile. Gretzky shakes Ovi's hand while all the fans stand. That was one of the hell of the game of hockey. We can all only count ourselves as lucky. Records are meant to be broken. The great one has spoken. 895 is on the board, and everyone is lost for words. Ovi's name is now in the book, while other can only look. Oh no, he ain't done yet. That's why he keep everyone quiet. 1,000 goals, they might say, but that's the Ovechkin's way.
Thank you. Now, a bit of an admin thing. It is just so that we don't run up against the noise from upstairs when the music starts.
Yeah.
If I could ask everyone from now on to read one poem, just in fairness, so that the last one isn't battling the guitar. And following Matthew, he usually goes first. He's always dressed impeccably.
Thank you.
Stephen Roach.
Excuse me?
Yup, Daybreak.
Look, Daybreak. Yes, I used to work in Daybreak before my fans. I wasn't going to read something else from the book, but we're done. Thank you. So I don't know, I'm going to do either one or two poems, so I have to do one now, right? So I have to make a choice. So it's either something like really, really like very dark or something very funny. Funny? Okay. I haven't read this in a while, but a few people know about the fertilizer story. No? Okay, sure, it's getting read anyway. So this is actually based on a true story of true events that happened to myself, unfortunately, but everyone else seems to find it quite funny. Okay, so fertilizer. It was a Tuesday evening and time for work. In the door, grabbed the keys to bring my bike upstairs and clock in. My colleagues greet me and I set off to work on the tills. Everything was going smooth for the evening till, of course, I was informed that something needed cleaning up. Stephen, will you do me a favour? Clean up the shit outside. As in the forecourt, like, is it the coal bunkers and logs a bit messy? No, Stephen. As in there is shit outside but a skip. As in human shit. No, as in horse shit. Okay, no problem. So I go down and clean it up. I throw it into a bag. I decided to bring it to my grandmother as she does loads of gardening. I would use it for fertilizer. She says yes, and I continue the rest of my shift as normal. Anyway, the time had come when I had to leave for home, looking forward to having a nice shower and going to Charlie Lowndes for some good music and a few quiet pints. I grabbed my bike from upstairs and set off for home with the bag of horse manure tied onto the handlebars. I was just on the home straight, about a minute away from getting to my house, but unfortunately, as I was going down a hill, I hit a bump awkwardly, and the bag got caught in the front wheels. The wheel began to erode the bag, and of course the shit hit the fan. I tried my best to stop my bike, but my front brake was jammed. The horse manure began to revolve at the wheel and ended up spraying all over my face. At this point, you would think it couldn't get any worse, but it did. I was still holding my front brake, and as the bag came loose, my brake kicked in. As luck would have it, a big chunk of horse manure became airborne. I tried my best to avoid this ballistic poop as best I could, but my efforts were futile. Mouth wide open from some shock, and in it went. I somehow managed not to crash the bike despite the mouthful of crap. Instead, I gagged and choked as I coughed up bits of horse manure on the way home. My grandmother greeted me in tears of laughter, to which I found in no way funny. Here's your shit, I coughed, showering and gargling mouthwash at the same time, trying my best to get rid of the stench of manure. It was in my eyes, my beard, even knocked out of my nostrils. The stench making me want to get sick. But I managed to get rid of it, nonetheless, and the smell was no more inside or out. I arrive at Charlie's and begin to regale my horrifying tale. The responses were very kind and supportive. That is, laughing and joking is a form of support. One of my friends turns to me and says, "So Stephen, tell me, how long ago was it since you had horse shit in your mouth?" I'm not going to lie, man. About 45 minutes ago. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Stephen.
Yeah, it's a horrifying tale.
I know. And look at you now.
Yeah? Still full of crap.
The next poet, if I could ask Beth to come up and read for us.
No politics, no bid.
I wrote this in 2017. The Famine Relief Road, the Burren, County Clare. A road to nowhere scars the rock face of Gorta Clare Mountain, a haunting image of famine relief. Decimation of people shattered by crop failure, mass graves for those too weak to breathe, too weak to hope, too weak to dream. Overlords feign ignorance. Survivors on coffin ships in search of a life worthy of respect, worthy of living. 19th century, shameful rule of imperial indifference. Listen, you will hear the rhythm. Slow dance limestone monotones swirling in the wind, echoes of tortuous hours, of wasting limbs beating hammers on rock, and faint murmurs, last prayers of the wretched, rebounding from the ruins of Parkham Row. Close your eyes, you will see reflections, soundless torment of a lost generation, mourned by the sweet scent of clover, carried in the wind that blows from Ivory Mountain. On lonely Gorta Clare, an ancient tomb, the Druid's altar, watches over pockets of stone where the grass refuses to grow.
Thank you, Ben. The next poet is not just a fantastic, fantastic poet, but a wonderful, wonderful person, as you all know. Her book is for sale on the table, and she doesn't seem in crisis today, but it's titled Quarter Life Crisis. Okay, so give a warm round of applause to Lauren.
I misheard you for a second there, Lauren. I just thought you said she is not a fantastic poet.
She is.
Thank you all so much. Thanks, Dora. The book is for sale if anyone wants it. Also over here we have Skylight 47, the new journal, which has a review of this book. So if you don't want to read the book, you can read about the book, whichever you prefer. It's just going to do a short one tonight. This is called a quaint 2016 article. The headline read, Best Friends for 70 Years. The interviewer asked, what's the secret to long life? They replied, no men and a good friend. The article showed photos of the house they owned together. It was cheaper that way. And a picture of their room with twin beds and marks on the floorboards. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lauren, and I would never ever say that. That's libel. Next, if I could ask Jean-Malik to come up, give a warm.
Hi, good evening. Little description. Destroy and mercy. About combine my poem. My poem name, Coffee. If ever your red rose dries up, what then? Will you lose your love? If ever heaven hang on you, then would you reject your coffin or graveyard? If ever evening fall in the ocean, if you get exhausted or duck a base, then make a canvas for a love among hungry children on the destroyed city. Thank you.
The next poet I'm going to ask to the mic was telling us all, before the reading, all about how this room used to look and how it wasn't a room but more like a passageway, etc. So he's a veteran White House poet, and I'm delighted to welcome back Caleb. Will you come read for us?
Yeah. Woo, baby!
lovely to be back, lads.
Welcome
It's my
back,
first
sir.
time reading in this space. As I mentioned, it was last time I was here. It was like a corridor and like just like beer cans and stuff.
Yeah.
It was just a storeroom and stuff like that. So it's really interesting to be in this lovely boudoir. So I'm going to read a poem. I haven't been out in about 3 hours, so I don't know if it's rained yet, but it was stunning today. It was really, really lovely. And I think the last time the weather was been rip-roaring, like for all summers, maybe 2017 when we had a heat wave. And during that period, a friend came to me and said, Jesus, if a child was born, you would swear they would thought they were in the Amalfi Coast or Portofino or something, because there's no way they think they're here. And this poem is born of that experience. And it's a very limited poem. So it's called Leo, so shout out any Leos. Leo. When she was born, it was the hottest summer the island of Ireland had ever seen. She would be a child born here of the sun, and will not know the weather that homes here. Just like that tempest rain which falls as rapids above her as she waits at the bus stop, or that slideways glancing torrent that'll bite into her on muddy pitches in East Hip. She'll not be ready for it, her future. She'll only understand the soft hug of Penny's PJs, warm black fingerless gloves during her junior cert cycle, or that lapping motion of the hot water ball hidden under the sunbed pillars of her legs. She'll comfort herself as she studies near fire, often, and with the warmth of Dad's hugs, or eating soft ice cream in the kitchen at 4 p.m. October darkness. She'll feel bliss during the April break when escapes to Nan's caravan in Ballybunnin become ritual now. She'll feel at home here, almost fresh in the hot brevity of Irish summer, and whilst hypnotized by streaking rainfall sliding down the car window, she'll think back and wish for softer days. That is her future, however. Now she rests in easy warmth, cooled by the electric hum of the modern fan, and calmed by the soft static of the baby monitor, immured by the side of a figure who she eventually called mother, but now will only understand the bond she has, and comprehends, yet doesn't, the love which he holds for her. Thank you.
It's great to hear you, Caleb. I hope you come back. Next is a poet who we were lucky enough to hear a longer set from earlier this year. But even one poem is an amazing gift. Zach, will you come up and read us a poem?
How you doing? I was going to read two, but in the interest of time I'll read the one. But they were both about my uncle anyway, who passed away 3 years ago. I was very close to it, but I'll read the happy one. So I think it'll be probably more of a fight than a sad one. So it's called Golf Shoes. So it was 2010. I remember wearing your old size 11s when they were still far too big for my 13-year-old feet. Being at the JP McManus Pro-Am, seeing the likes of Samuel L. Jackson, Hugh Grant, and both of the Redknaps, I still remember the putting green. And you so graciously slagging off all the other different celebrities' golfing abilities. What a way to spend your 50th birthday, I thought then. What a gift to give your nephew for almost 140.
Thank you, Zach. The next poet is new to me, but it's lovely to welcome you. Becker Diaz, will you come up and read? There you are.
Hello. Well, my name is Becker Diaz. I'm from Nicaragua. Nice to meet you all. Okay. Any rainy day. Any rainy day, one approaches the window, contemplates rush and rage, the honking horn, the proud, people running in vain, and one looks at the sky that roars and the asphalt that crackles, and one cries for something because it is the right time, and one sighs and listens. Outside, the concert goes on between urgency and anger. You feel sorry for them because it is frustrating that everything is not on our hands. You feel sorry for them because they are not in front of the glass, because they do not sigh or contemplate, and because that day they may not be able to cry.
Thank you. I think you may have beat the Texas record of the furthest way to come and join us tonight. I hope you come again. Thank you very much for coming. Okay. The next person, Stephen Bond.
Cheers. So I used to come here quite a few years ago, and I disappeared, but I came back last week, or last month, so thanks to Lauren for asking me to come. And I read a sad poem about Palestine, and I'm going to read another sad poem about Palestine. This is called He Said, She Said. And the he voice is some right-wing Israeli politicians. I've cobbled a couple of quotes. There's lovely people in Palestine, but it's not these lads. And for the she said, I've been reading some women's Palestinian poetry, and I've rubbed a few words off them as well. Nothing to break copyright, but that's the female voice. So he said, she said. He said, the children in Gaza brought this upon themselves, their flattened strip a pleasure, more beautiful than ever, so that pried the mouth of Noah's dove for olive leaves to pin in his red beret. She said, the thing that crushed me was my 5-year-old finding words to unscramble his eyes out of boyhood. In the confusion of Khan Yunis, I saw a salad of people, and she carved her words in fingernails into graves and torture chambers until the last sky was brimful of screaming. He said, send mother and suckling to hell with flowers and kisses, for wombs as well as houses are a snake nest's infrastructure, and they pried the mouth of Noah's dove for olive leaves to pin in his red beret. She said, the Palestine I know came to me through women. The land beneath the serpent coil of soldiers is a woman, a womb that harbours your next thorn, rock in one hand, flag in the other, and she engraved her words into the wood of her gallows. He said, you Arabs will scurry around, drugged cockroaches in a bottle, once I have settled the land, as he scorched another orchard, just to break her heart a little more, and to pry the mouth of Noah's dove for olive leaves to pin in his red beret. She said, no one native to this land would dare cut down the olive groves, but ceaselessly he severed limbs from her children and her trees, while ceaselessly she chiseled sounds into the furrows of the fields, and the valleys are filled with her keening, and the stones and the soil with her kisses.
Well, the guitar hasn't assaulted us yet, so I'll take a quick turn, and I haven't had a chance to look up the page number, and I apologize for that. Sorry. 20. This poem, I had to read this tonight because I wrote it 2 years ago in a workshop that Jessica gave here in Limerick. Thank you, Dominic, for that. And we were listening to musical pieces, and one of them was The Swan from Carnival of the Animals in Yo-Yo Ma's fantastic rendition. And I used to play this piece when I was a child, and I was preparing for an audition to my high school. And I had a little argument with the accompanist about what the piece should feel like or what it was about, and that's what this poem is about. Solmization / wingspan. The swan is about death, said the accompanist for my audition. I thought it was about beauty, the illusion of eternity in a bow, the gentle resistance of water kissing every pore before releasing it. Arpeggios close the gate, busy fingers wiggle, impose emotion. Pianos are but mallets hitting strings, holding down a pedal, sound released under wing. Pianists do not know the yield to gravity, balanced on an elbow's counterweight, the linger to the tip, inexorable return across the bridge towards mother of pearl, circling the gate, accepting the fall. Air goes up, then fades until invisible, but I have perfect pitch. I know middle C, the lodestone, always pointing north, and the swan's last soul. Thanks, everybody. Putting my organizer hat back on. It was lovely to have you all with us tonight. First, let's give Jessica a warm round. Thank you so much for coming, and we have your poster. Don't forget to come get it from me. And Jessica's book is on the table over there, as are Lauren's, Dominic's, my own, and Cora's books. And also on the table is Skylight 47, which was launched last week. It has 2 Revival Poets reviews. It has a poetry masterclass from Limerick poet Michael Dooley, and 55 poems. It's a special 20th edition issue. So, and it's only €6. So, come empty the table, and thank you so much for being here. We hope you can join us for the first Wednesday next month. Thank you so much, everybody.
Just one more extra piece of news that we just got. Anyone looking for listen to music on their way home? Our very own Tom McCarthy just had his song In the Rain released on Spotify. We'll see you all next month. Good night, guys.
Left the porch light on again just in case you change your mind. Your coat still hanging by the door like you'll come back in time. I tried to write it all down, but the ink ran with my tears. You were always good at leaving, I was better at my fears. Can't talk, crying if I start, I'll never stop. These words are water in my throat, and every breath just drops. I held it in too long this time, now it's flooding every line. Can't talk, crying. Your coffee cup still on the sill, I haven't washed it out. It's stupid how I cling to things I swore I'd live without. Your name's still saved the same, with that photo from the fall. I tried to call you last night, but my voice don't work at all. Can't talk, crying, my hands are shaking too. The quiet in this house is loud, and all it wants is you. I meant to say I'm sorry, but I broke before